This is Ilhan Omar, one of Congress's most talked about figures. After Charlie Kirk was killed, her words didn't calm things. They exploded. Now Congress is divided, Trump is calling for action, and the nation is left wondering, did she go too far? Or just speak the truth? Let's find out. The United States has been thrown into deep uncertainty after the shocking events of September 10th, 2025, when Charlie Kirk, the 31-year-old co-founder of Turning Point USA, was assassinated at Utah Valley University. He was in the middle of a Q&A session during his American Comeback Tour when a gunman shot him in the neck, an act that left the country stunned and exposed how fragile the current political atmosphere has become. His death immediately set off a wave of reactions across the political spectrum, but instead of unity, what followed only deepened the cracks in American politics. Attention quickly shifted to Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, whose words on September 11, 2025, during an interview on the Zateo platform, turned a national tragedy into a political firestorm. She spoke about Kirk's past, pointing to his remark that guns save lives after a school shooting, his alleged description of George Floyd as a scumbag, and his rejection of Juneteenth, which she linked to minimizing the history of slavery and black struggles. She also pushed back against the narrative that Kirk's career was just about civil debate, stressing that his record was filled with sharp and controversial actions. As the uproar grew, the situation took an even stranger turn when the New York Times issued a correction regarding a misattributed anti-Semitic quote tied to the story, intensifying the outrage and raising alarms about the role of media in shaping how such moments are remembered. Instead of calming tensions, this correction added another layer of suspicion and mistrust, leaving people questioning both politicians and the press. What had begun as grief over a violent act was now tangled with disputes over legacy, truth, and responsibility. On September 16, 2025, the controversy reached the House floor when Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina introduced a resolution to censure Omar and remove her from the House Education and the Workforce Committee, as well as the House Budget Committee. The resolution was put forward under fast-track rules, signaling the seriousness of the effort. The central argument was that her comments suggested Kirk bore some responsibility for his own assassination, something her office denied. The fight over the resolution quickly became a flashpoint, not just between parties, but within them. 2 days later, on September 18, 2025, the vote was held. The outcome was razor thin. 214 voted against, while 213 supported it. Just 4 Republicans broke with their colleagues and sided with Democrats to halt the measure. Mike Flood of Nebraska, Jeff Hurd of Colorado, Tom McClintock of California, and Corey Mills of Florida. Their decision stunned many observers and revealed that even within the Republican ranks, there was no agreement on how to handle Omar's remarks. The split highlighted just how fractured the political environment has become, with divisions cutting across party lines at a time when the country is already rattled by violence and mistrust. The assassination of Charlie Kirk has turned into something larger than a single act of violence. It has sparked fights in Congress, exposed media missteps, and deepened political divides. The failed resolution, the narrow 214 to 213 vote, and the rare bipartisan break in the Republican Party have all added layers of mystery to an already dark moment. With questions still swirling about the motives behind the assassination, the controversy over Omar's comments, and the bitter split in Washington, nothing feels settled. Instead, the sense is growing that this may only be the beginning of a far more troubling chapter in American politics. The fallout from the failed censure resolution on September 18, 2025, only deepened the storm surrounding Charlie Kirk's assassination and its political aftermath. That same day, Representative Mike Flood, one of the Republicans who had voted against the measure, revealed that he would be filing a complaint with the House Ethics Committee. His filing was extensive, pointing to 18 separate incidents he believed reflected poorly on the House. These included Omar's remarks about Kirk's killing, a workshop advising Somalis on avoiding deportation, and her use of TikTok content that mixed official and campaign material. This step signaled that some Republicans wanted to pursue a formal investigation rather than stop with a symbolic vote, suggesting suspicions that her actions were not isolated but part of a larger pattern. At the same time, other Republicans intensified the effort. Representative Buddy Carter of Georgia introduced another resolution to strip Omar of her committee seats, showing that the push was far from over. The controversy grew darker on September 19, 2025, when President Donald Trump added his voice. He demanded Omar's impeachment, despite the fact that House members cannot be impeached and can only be expelled if 2/3 of the chamber agrees. Trump went further, attacking her background and referring to her native Somalia as a place plagued by terrorism, corruption, and poverty. His words, shared widely on Truth Social and echoed by his supporters, escalated the situation dramatically. In a political climate already marked by violence, underscored by recent assassinations, including that of Minnesota Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman, these remarks carried a chilling undertone, raising concerns about whether such rhetoric could inflame further danger. Meanwhile, Omar's defenders worked to shift the narrative. Her staff emphasized that she had been one of the first to condemn the killing of Kirk and had expressed sympathy for his family, insisting her interview comments were about his divisive record, not a celebration of his death. Prominent Democrats such as Representative Katherine Clark and Senator Tina Smith backed her, framing the attacks against her as opportunistic and motivated by political gain. Others pointed out that resolutions brought forward lacked direct citations from her interview, fueling claims that quotes had been twisted or fabricated. To them, this was less about words and more about targeting her identity as a Muslim and Somali American, turning her into a convenient political lightning rod. Adding another layer, the New York Times drew scrutiny for its coverage. On September 11, 2025, the paper published an obituary for Kirk, calling him a provocateur and attributing an anti-Semitic statement to him, supposedly made on his podcast. Later that same day, a correction revealed the truth. Kirk had been quoting a social media post to criticize it, not endorsing it. The error was glaring and easy to verify, yet it was published at a moment of heightened tension. The correction fueled accusations of bias and carelessness, leading many to question whether the newspaper was shaping a narrative rather than reporting facts. The misstep became a symbol of distrust in the media, feeding the sense that truth itself was under siege. Even cultural figures entered the fray. Best-selling novelist Stephen King responded to a tribute by Fox News host Jesse Waters with a claim that Kirk had advocated stoning gay people to death. The accusation spread quickly but was challenged almost immediately, especially by openly gay conservatives like Dave Rubin and Guy Benson, who had known Kirk personally and defended his openness toward gay conservatives within the movement. The source of King's claim was a misinterpretation of Kirk's use of biblical passages to highlight selective readings, not an endorsement of violence. Under pressure, King deleted the post and issued a partial apology, admitting his error but still leaving the implication that Kirk's views were troubling. To critics, this was not just a mistake, but a deliberate attempt to smear Kirk while emotions were still raw. By late September 2025, what began as a shocking act of violence at Utah Valley University had spiraled into something much larger. Between a House ethics complaint citing 18 incidents, new resolutions, Trump's impeachment call, the New York Times correction, and King's controversial post, the controversy had grown into a maze of political, media, and cultural battles. Each twist only seemed to raise more questions than answers, deepening the mystery and heightening the sense that the story was far from over. The aftermath of Kirk's assassination spiraled into a storm that touched nearly every corner of politics, media, and public opinion. What began as shock over the killing soon turned into a struggle over meaning, legacy, and blame. The involvement of high-profile figures only added to the unease. The Stephen King episode, where the author claimed Kirk had called for stoning gay people before deleting the post and offering only a half apology, made the atmosphere even stranger. For many, it looked less like an error and more like an attempt to shape the narrative while emotions were still raw. Friends and colleagues of Kirk felt drowned out, their grief overshadowed by provocative commentary and misinformation, spreading faster than facts. Omar's role in the controversy deepened the divides. On September 20th, 2025, she defended sharing a video that branded Kirk a stochastic terrorist and compared him to Dr. Frankenstein. Her refusal to back away, even pushing back against critics with sharp remarks during a CNN interview, made her a central figure in the fallout. The video itself accused Kirk of being an adamant transphobe and supporting the subjugation of women, framing his rhetoric as dangerous. Amplifying such content in the wake of his killing became a flashpoint, with critics accusing her of crossing into territory that bordered on justification. The personal attacks that followed revealed a darker undertone, calls for her deportation, demands that she go back to Somalia, and attempts to tie her faith and nationality into the controversy. These responses showed how much race, religion, and identity had become part of the fight. Old disputes were also pulled back into the spotlight. Her 2012 tweet about Israel hypnotizing the world, and a 2018 comment about criticism of Israel being mislabeled as anti-Semitism were revived, alongside reminders of the 2019 House resolution condemning anti-Semitism. By 2025, these earlier episodes were presented as part of a larger pattern, fueling claims that her comments on Kirk fit a history of provocative statements. Supporters argued otherwise, saying these old fights were being recycled to discredit her, especially as one of the most visible Muslim women in Congress. Social media made the fire burn hotter. Platforms like X became battlegrounds where hashtags, viral clips, and half-true claims dominated the conversation. Conservative accounts demanded Omar's resignation, while progressive voices defended her, claiming she was being singled out unfairly. The chaos blurred fact and fiction. False claims spread quickly, like the viral story suggesting Simone Biles mocked Kirk's death in a blog post. Debunked later, but only after millions had seen it. The non-stop churn of outrage made it nearly impossible for balanced discussion to survive. The violence of 2025 gave the controversy an even darker backdrop. Kirk's assassination was one in a series of chilling incidents, including the killing of Minnesota Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman and the August 28th shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis. Omar had spoken after the church attack in favor of an assault weapons ban, a position meant to show her opposition to violence. Yet critics claimed her remarks about Kirk clashed with this stance, accusing her of hypocrisy. The details of Kirk's killer added another unsettling layer. The Associated Press reported that he feared being shot by police before surrendering, a sign of the deep mistrust and fear that now shaped the atmosphere. The media's role came under sharp suspicion. Beyond the New York Times' correction, other missteps fueled distrust. ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel's show indefinitely after his remarks about Kirk's death, while a reporter drew outrage for describing messages between the assassin and their transgender partner as very touching. To conservatives, these moments looked like attempts to soften or distort the story. The fact that the Times correction came only after heavy backlash and involved what many called an easy fact to check only fed the belief that these were not mere mistakes but part of a broader pattern. Inside Congress, the fault lines were clear. Kirk's death, Omar's remarks, and the broader fight over free speech collided. To some, he had been a defender of open debate, and the assassination was viewed as an attack on that principle. To others, his rhetoric had long carried consequences that could not be ignored. Even the GOP showed cracks when 4 Republicans broke from the party line and voted against Mace's censure resolution, citing concerns about protecting First Amendment rights. At the same time, an ethics committee complaint against Omar showed that efforts to challenge her went beyond this one controversy, extending into questions about her broader conduct. Within less than 2 weeks, events piled on each other. Stephen King's explosive claim, Omar's video defense on September 20th, the revival of her 2012 and 2018 remarks, the failed censure, and the spread of misinformation across social media. The rapid escalation left no time for measured responses, only raw emotion and political escalation. What are your views on this? Do let us know in the comment section below, and for more such videos, make sure you subscribe to our channel.